Greetings, lovely listeners. You have come back down the red rabbit hole, and I'm your host, author N V Peacock, otherwise known as Nicky. And this time we're going to do something a little bit different for you. With the run up to Halloween, my favourite season, I'm going to tell you a story. So sit back and relax, and let me tell you the story of Tom Fool. I was 9 years old when I first saw him hovering lengthways above my bed, his skin peeling and chalk white with red and blue veined makeup lining black eyeless sockets. A twisted mouth turned up in a smile. There was more of a crack on his face than an expression. He wore a ripped velvet one-piece covered with an intricate diamond design, the colours so bleached by time and death they now appeared as a series of ever-darkening shades of rot and crusted blood. The bells on his tri-horned hat and turned-up boots still jangled, although the sound now was painfully out of tune. When you're young and have limited experience in the world, seeing something like him is like having your curiosity wrestle your instincts. He was a random apparition who had timed his entrance just as nightly boredom had grabbed hold of my young mind, but inside a voice was screaming at me to run like hell into my parents' bedroom. I chose to stay, curiosity far outweighing those inner urgent yells. I'm Tom Fool. He extended a skeletal hand drenched in old patchy red velvet to me. I didn't take it. I wasn't that stupid. I don't want to play, I yelled back at him. He chuckled. The sound was like someone had run sharp nails down a school blackboard, and I felt small trickles of blood begin to work their way from my ears onto my Superman pajamas. But you asked me to come, he said. I did not. I pulled the cover over my head, but I could still see his jagged floating silhouette through the white cotton sheet. Look at me, girl, he shouted. Then his voice changed to a jaunty sing-song tone. I'm a jester. I can make you laugh when you're not looking at me. I kept the sheet where it was. That was when the smell came, like something long since dead had crawled into my nostrils and was breathing its foul breath right up my nose. I threw the sheet down. He was still there. Only now the smile across his face was more of a chasm than a crack. Go away, I'm tired. I don't want to laugh, I said. Don't be silly. All children want to laugh and play, and he leant closer to me and spoke behind his hand. Even some grown-ups. He giggled at his spilled secret. Well, not with you. I set my eyes in a stern scowl and crossed my arms over my chest. For a moment he actually looked offended, his manic stare downcast, his belled feet almost shuffling. Not an easy task when you're floating horizontally. My resolve softened. What do you mean I asked you to come? Ah! He looked up and winked. His eyelid barely hanging onto his socket dripped down his cheekbone. He had to flick his head to get the slip of skin back to where it should be. I felt a teaspoon of bile creeping up my throat. I'm glad you brought that up. You remember today when you and your lovely parents visited the castle? I nodded. I loved castles, and the day's expedition had been purely for my fascination with turrets, moats, and tapestries, the comic books of old. It was cool. My voice had shrunk to barely a whisper, although Tom Fool was so close he could probably hear my thoughts. Cool, yes. That was my home once. When I lived there, I caused all sorts of mischief. I took things that didn't belong to me. I took lives. But when you visited my home, you took something from me, didn't you? My face flushed. I'd taken a small chunk of brick from a bedroom fireplace. It was loose and I thought no one would miss it. You took a piece of my home, he said. Yes. Yes, what? Yes, Tom Fool, I replied. He grinned again, and I saw the rows of tiny pointed yellow teeth being caressed by his thick grey tongue. Well, you need to put it back. Now don't you, girl? Yes, Tom Fool, I whispered. But in the meantime, you need to pay a penance for keeping my property for the day, and if you don't put my property back, a penance will be paid every day after that. What's a penance? I asked. Why, it's a price, silly. You need to do something for me. Of course, no one believed me that this had happened, that Tom Fool had followed me home intent on claiming back his stolen property. But their belief wasn't going to change what happened next. That I had to wake my father, and I had to ask him for some warm milk. That whilst making that milk and singing me a lullaby, Tom Fool had appeared behind him and using those sharp yellow teeth ripped out my father's throat. No one else heard the sound of those tuneless bells as he devoured my father piece by piece, making me watch each bloody mouthful till there was only a pile of splintered bone and shredded pyjamas on the floor. The police told Mum it was a madman that had gotten into the house. As the alarm was never tripped, she suspected I let him in, that he'd talked me into opening our house to the horror. She said she didn't blame me, but in saying it, it was implied she did. I saw it in her wet eyes, too. The next day I left my mum weeping in bed and crept out of the house with the chunk of brick in my hand. I took a bus back to the castle and walked the long, windy road to its entrance. It was closed for renovations. When I got back, Mum hadn't even noticed I'd gone, or that I still held the piece of brick in my tiny hands. If only I'd picked Mum rather than Dad that night, he'd have gotten me into the castle before they restored the hole in the fireplace, making an orphan of both me and the brick that to this day I still own. I'm sorry. He's behind you.